afternoon, a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Neha Bhardwaj-Alter and this is Game On. After having witnessed once-in-a-lifetime knock last night from Glenn Maxwell, the three teams have been decided for the semi-finals, with India topping the points table and between South Africa and Australia in number 2 and number 3 spots. They've been decided, so there is a possibility in that South Africa can finish at 3 and Australia can end up on 2. But what we know for sure is that these two teams will be playing one of the semi-finals. The biggest question right now is, who will India play in the other semi-final? Can it be Pakistan at the Eden Gardens, a blockbuster of a match that all of us are waiting for? Or will it be New Zealand at the Wankhede Stadium? Or will Afghanistan, despite the pasting they got last night from Maxwell, can they sneak in? We will explain the different scenarios for these teams to qualify. We'll also discuss some of the top ODI knocks played in the history of the game and where does Maxwell 201 not out rank among them. And I know two people who live and breathe this game, so who better than Chetan Narula and Jamie Alter to discuss this with. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us here on the show. Let me get straight into who do you want to see India play in the semi-final. Let's start with Chetan, the Manchester United fan.
I would like to see New Zealand in the semi-finals, honestly, because A, that would reduce my workload for the semi-final. But in all seriousness, I think New Zealand would be a better match. I think in semi-finals and the final, I mean, these are three games that you really want to see a contest. You know, these are the best teams in the tournament. They've beaten everybody. And from that perspective, you want close games, you want good contests, you want great players with smart ability, thinking hats on. You want both sides to challenge each other in each of those three games so that we can get a deserving champion. Now, India have steamrolled everybody, apart from, if I can say, New Zealand, who came quite close. Pakistan, India hasn't been a great contest of late. So I would want to see New Zealand get another chance and see if they can dismantle India. Also, you know, if you just compare New Zealand and Pakistan, I don't think Pakistan have been quite there. You shouldn't be able to get into a semi-final because one of the other teams in contention, New Zealand in this case, is playing with 4 players injured. You know, they had, 11, 12 to pick from, really. So you should be making the semi-finals because you have been playing well. And I don't think Pakistan have played well enough in this tournament to deserve a semi-final spot.
Jamie, what about you? Do you agree with Chetan as well that you'd want to see New Zealand in the semi-final against India or Pakistan or Afghanistan?
Look, I think New Zealand is just, I know they've gone off the boil. We discussed how by the time they would meet India, they would have had the easiest draw and much tougher challenges lie ahead. But again, they've been hit by injury. Let's accept that. Two really bad calls at the toss. Overall, for what this team has achieved in the last 2 World Cups, I just think overall they're a better fit for the semi-finals. Probably crores of people will disagree and say, no, let's bring on India at the Eden Gardens. But I think for the tournament, for India, though you won't get any Indian players say it, given New Zealand's hold over India in World Cups, I personally would also want New Zealand because what they brought to the World Cup in the first half was so fun watching them. Pakistan have just been so poor. You know, I mean, I go back to that match. Okay, Fakhar Zaman played a blinder. It's questionable whether he would have kept on going until 402 was hauled down, you know. But they just been the fact that, like, in that match, they conceded 400. Bad calls from Babar Azam. I just think in any tournament, any sport, whenever you have a semi-final or a quarterfinal onwards, you want the cream of that tournament to be there. And for me, I know New Zealand have lost 4 in a row, but they're still in that cream. And for me, Pakistan is not.
Come on, you're disappointing a lot of fans who'd want to see India and Pakistan in the semi-final. I mean, when are we then going to hear Kudrat Ka Nizam? When are we then going to hear about, you know, why Dil Dil Pakistan wasn't played? Hassan Raza saying that, you know, okay, Jasprit Bumrah, they're giving him special balls. That's why he's being able to bowl like that. We need some spice. So maybe, just maybe, India-Pakistan is what we might get. So let's talk about who the other semi-finalists could be. Chetan and Jamie both want New Zealand, and New Zealand in fact do have the best chance. But there are three teams that are in contention for the fourth spot: New Zealand, Pakistan and Afghanistan. These three teams will have to win their final league matches and will hope to make a cut with better net run rate. In the first scenario, if New Zealand beat Sri Lanka on Thursday, which is tomorrow, which is a big game, huge game for all the three teams, they will be in the best position to qualify for the semi-final and play India. The Kiwis have the best net run rate among the three, and another win will only make their net run rate better. Afghanistan plays South Africa, which is day after tomorrow. They will need to win against the Proteas by a huge margin to compensate for their negative run rate. So, if New Zealand win, Afghanistan's chances are all but over. They'll have to win by a huge margin, and a lot of things need to go in their favor. It will not work. Pakistan, they play their last league game after New Zealand, and Afghanistan finished their league stage. So, they will know the exact margin of victory to go above New Zealand in net run rate. But even that will be a big one. They'll need to win in their last game by a huge margin. The second scenario is if New Zealand lose to Sri Lanka and Pakistan win against England. This will be an interesting one because Pakistan then will go through even if Afghanistan win their last game. Pakistan have a better net run rate than Afghanistan. So clearly tomorrow's match, if New Zealand lose tomorrow's game against Sri Lanka and Pakistan win their last game, they are through. The third scenario, if all three lose their final matches, New Zealand, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they'll all finish on 8 points. Again, net run rate will come into play and the advantage will be with New Zealand, who are already ahead of the other two in the points table. The last scenario is the interesting one, which is if New Zealand and Sri Lanka game is washed out due to rain, which is a possibility given it's been raining non-stop in Bengaluru. Both teams will then get 1 point each, and a win for Pakistan versus England will take them ahead of the Kiwis. And Pakistan will have that advantage there over Afghanistan. Once again, even if Afghanistan win their game and get to 10 points like Pakistan, Pakistan will still be better in their net run rate. So the biggest game is New Zealand versus Sri Lanka, which is tomorrow. How big is this game for Afghanistan and for Pakistan? And what are you expecting from this game, Jamie, given that New Zealand, as Chetan was saying, they've had injury concerns. They've been brilliant in the first half of the tournament, haven't been so in the second half. How are you seeing them against Sri Lanka?
See, the question you asked just before this was who would you rather see? Had you asked me who do you think will go, I would have given a different answer. I've lost faith. I've lost faith in this New Zealand team for several factors. I don't think they have it in them to get there right now. I would love to see them, but nothing really is working for them. They've thrown away starts. Their bowling is just not working. Yes, it's injured, but I mean, it's now 8 matches down. Trent Boult hasn't really done much. Mitchell Santner, he was very good at the start. He sort of faded away. They just don't look like a team, even given and budgeting for Sri Lanka's obvious weaknesses. They just don't look like a team that is going to be able to win matches by a big margin, And given the rain around, I just think, like we discussed the other day, the more the overs get reduced, I think they're really going to be up against it. I don't think Sri Lanka, man for man, have the skill to beat New Zealand, but something about this New Zealand team, I mean, they did give 200 for the loss of just 1 wicket, on that small ground. We're back at the small ground. I'm not saying that Sri Lanka have a Fakhar Zaman type innings loaded, but I just don't think New Zealand are quite in a spot where they actually believe they could be there. So I think despite England getting to the 330 that I predicted, I just don't think they're going to pose much of a challenge to Pakistan, because Pakistan teams, when they have to get into knockouts, become a very, very different beast. So had New Zealand performed better, I would have had faith. But personally, I'm not expecting New Zealand to beat Sri Lanka tomorrow.
I also feel that Sri Lanka are, in a better space when they are playing in Bengaluru because of the flat surface there, Chetan. To see their batting actually coming good against New Zealand is a bigger possibility. In that case, how do you see this panning out for these two sides? And I also want to ask you, I mean, it's one thing that you lose a match, but to lose after having scored 400 runs it sort of it leaves you wondering what you must do next to win. And so, do you think New Zealand could be in that state of mind?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they lost because of rain. Like I've said earlier, if there was no rain, they would have won that game. There is no way Pakistan would have chased 400. It was a matter of getting Pakar Zaman's wickets. So, I mean, it's not like Pakistan could not have chased it. I mean, we've seen 400 chased previously in ODIs, but it was just improbable, I thought, personally. And going ahead, I think, teams, they're a very professional side, knowing Kane Williamson, and their entire contingent, really. I'm actually very close to a couple of players there. Knowing them, I don't think they would be too fussed about it. They know the shortcomings they had. They picked a wrong bowling attack for that surface, under lights, with rain around. With the semi-final on the line, I think their focus would be on that. Their best players are back now. They are available now. Chapman is available. Williamson is available. Lockie Ferguson was fit for the Bengaluru game, but he did not play. So I think New Zealand are in a better space in terms of the team personnel. They did score 400. I think that's a huge positive. The batsmen are in form, playing in Bengaluru again. So from that perspective, I think they will look to readdress the issues and say, okay, you know what, we need to bring our best and win this game and select the proper side, really. The one danger I see from them, obviously there's the rain threat, and there's not much to be discussed about the rain threat. But the one issue I see for them is Sri Lanka, who are pretty charged up after that Bangladesh game, I would say. They feel that they have been wronged. The ICC hasn't really gotten a statement out. Champions Trophy qualification is on the line, although they should be able to secure 8th spot, or are they 7th? I'm not sure. But I think I was reading a couple of permutations and combinations. Unless a lot of these results in the last few games go against Afghanistan beating South Africa, etc., so on and so forth, I think they are safe. But again, still, they will be buoyed by that loss to Bangladesh, the way they lost, that whole controversy. So maybe that's a factor. On good batting pitches, I think their top order and a couple of batsmen in the Sri Lankan middle order can pose a challenge to New Zealand. However, irrespective of what happens tomorrow, I'm also very interested with the Pakistan-England scenario. And I'll tell you why, because that game is in Kolkata. And how has the Kolkata pitch been behaving? It's been behaving very, very slowly. Now, Pakistan have a bit of an advantage here because let's say New Zealand beat Sri Lanka. So they will have those 10 points and they will have that run rate. Pakistan will know exactly what they need to do. They need to beat England, but in how many overs, by how many runs, or by how many wickets, they will know the exact calculation. So it's very interesting. Will they choose to bat first on a pitch which has been slowing down throughout this tournament, and in second innings you can't really chase 270, 280 on that Kolkata pitch? So it's a very, very interesting scenario for Pakistan because they would want to bat first in order to secure the win. But then can they get England bowled out in, say, 25, 30 overs, which is possible. So it's going to be an excellent 2-3 days of cricket that are coming up. So I think New Zealand and Pakistan are the only sides who have a realistic chance. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, but what this World Cup's given us is, Jamie, a lot of interesting games. To think that, there have been so many upsets, some absolutely incredible once-in-a-lifetime kind of performances that we've seen from players. Then to think that you still don't have your semi-finalists and it's going right down to the wire, a bit like what we see in the IPL where, you can't quite decide till the very end, till the last league match, you cannot decide who has qualified. So in that sense, this has been a fantastic World Cup.
It's very funny how these scripts get written, no?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, Pakistan, I'm surprised at Pakistan given how poor they've been overall as compared to their good matches. I'm surprised at the fact that they're even in contention for the semi-final. But I guess that is, from the perspective that you posed the question, that is something to be celebrated because you don't sort of want to break away top four, very, very obvious. That said, it was pretty clear from the second week of this tournament who the top three would be, because despite Australia losing those matches, to my mind, I had no doubt that they would definitely be, maybe not in the top three, but that they would hold on to that top four, because at that point, New Zealand were doing so well. So it depends how you see it. Statistically, this has been the most one-sided World Cup in 45 years. But the fact that we're heading into that final weekend of matches, still talking about permutations and combinations, I think that is something to be celebrated. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's put the points table. I think we just saw the points table. Let's put the points table and just confirm who are the top three at the moment. So India in the top position, and they will remain in the top position with 16 points. South Africa and Australia, they both have one game each. If South Africa lose that one game and Australia win theirs, then they go to the number 2 spot. But what we know for sure is that South Africa and Australia will be playing the one semi-final. Who will be in that number 4 position? That's the one that every Indian fan wants to find out, because India will be playing that team in the other semi-final. New Zealand have a clear-cut advantage here because New Zealand, Pakistan and Afghanistan, all three are at 8 points. The difference is, though, that New Zealand have a much better net run rate than Pakistan and Afghanistan. And in fact, Afghanistan's net run rate is in the negative. So they'll need to win their next game by a huge margin to have any chance of qualifying. That's especially if Pakistan and New Zealand end up winning their last league games. Look at Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Netherlands, and then right at the bottom is England. Now, these teams at the bottom are playing for the Champions Trophy qualification. Remember, only the 8 teams from here, top 8, will qualify with Pakistan as the host. So 7 teams will qualify other than Pakistan for the Champions Trophy. So why this gets interesting for these teams is that they have to, they would want to, in fact, try to qualify for the Champions Trophy. But now let's come to the next game, Jamie. Of course, the game between New Zealand and Sri Lanka, very important. What happens next is Afghanistan, South Africa. Can Afghanistan recover from that pasting against South Africa? Is it even possible for them to win against South Africa?
Like we discussed, personally, I just think they've been dealt such a blow by what we saw yesterday. It's very tough. They'll probably be second guessing themselves. But I've been thinking about it since we did the 1 o'clock show. Their matches in Ahmedabad, kind of depends. There is a somewhat slower track there. Hypothetically, if South Africa don't bowl to standards, and let's say South Africa are set, I don't know, 265, 270. And they get into a similar, not even as bad as yesterday, but a similar situation. Heinrich Klaassen can do some great things, but he's sort of tapered off. I'm just thinking hypothetically, as small as the possibility is, what if miraculously somehow Afghanistan puts South Africa under the pump the way they had Australia? They're not going to find someone to do a Glenn Maxwell type thing. So yes, there's a very distinct possibility that Afghanistan could end up really pushing South Africa. But is that a stronger chance, or is the fact that they just looked, like I said, they looked like a club team for 2/3 of that chase yesterday? So I don't know. We're seeing the same with the Dutch, right? Done so well, but the longer these tournaments go on, the somewhat weaker teams, if I can use that term, they struggle to really, keep their foot on the pedal. So I guess we'll know when that match happens. Probably, logically speaking. Given all that we discussed in the afternoon show, probably Afghanistan's good run is ended because they just looked so demoralized. And I hope, for their sake and for the sake of some spicy matches, that Jonathan Trott and Ajay Jadeja can somehow pick up that mood, because they looked broken yesterday as Maxwell was knocking the ball everywhere.
Chetan, do you agree with Jamie as well that very difficult for Afghanistan to beat a team like South Africa after how they were flogged by Australia, and in particular Glenn Maxwell?
I'll agree to the bit where he says that it'll be tough for Afghanistan to come back from the beating, because obviously, like I mentioned, mentally I somehow doubt that Afghanistan haven't really grown in the way that they have grown in terms of their batting or in terms of their bowling. Definitely not in terms of their fielding. So the progression that they have made in their batting, perhaps they've not made that progression mentally, given the way how they were so easily dismantled in the last third of the innings yesterday. However, what we are forgetting is the way South Africa were thrashed by India, in Kolkata.
Oh, yes.
That wasn't any better than what Afghanistan. Yeah. So the question is also there for South Africa that, look, you were thrashed so badly, and Afghanistan taking a beating from Australia is still better because it's Australia beating Afghanistan. That's expected. The way South Africa were thrashed by India, I think they were shown to be a bigger club side than Afghanistan. So the question is for both teams, who is able to pick itself up mentally more? I mean, South Africa wouldn't want to go into the semi-finals. Previous game, what did the coach say? That they are already in the semi-finals, so maybe they took it easy. Do you want to do that again? A second game running, go into the semi-finals against Australia with 2 losses? I think it's going to be advantage of Afghanistan on a slowish Ahmedabad track. They're again going to play 4 spinners. They have an all-rounder pace bowler, and they play Naveen Hulak, so they have 6 bowlers to do the job. So it's going to be tough going for South Africa. It's about the mental challenge there, and I think whoever wins the mental battle will come out on top. And it's not just about Afghanistan overcoming that mental battle. I'll be very interested in seeing what South Africa do, because if they lose again, then Australia is going to have a very, very easy ride in the semi-final.
You know why I want Pakistan to qualify for the semi-finals, other than the fact that, you'll get an India-Pakistan semi-final. I genuinely think that there's a huge advantage for the team batting first at the Wankhede. And if India meet New Zealand in the semi-final, is that the semi-final? If India and New Zealand play, that's going to be at the Wankhede, right?
Yeah.
Which means that whichever team is batting first, if New Zealand win the toss and bat first, I feel like it is going to be tilted in the favor of the team batting because of what we've seen in the matches so far. So I'm wondering whether that could play a role, and why I feel that India will have the advantage is if they play Pakistan is because that match will be played at the Eden Gardens no matter what. Jamie, do you see any sense in this?
Yeah, look, I mean, there is logic, and even yesterday, despite what we saw, the Wankhede, to my mind, still remains a bat first pitch. That was a once in a lifetime, a freak innings. Good luck to anyone even trying to pull off what we saw. I think we discussed enough about Maxwell, so let's not go there. But again, do India have the bowlers to concede over 380 to New Zealand? I just don't think so. They've upended every single prediction that I've made.
Yeah.
So I would rather say that no matter who they play, and let's say that match is against New Zealand at the Wankhede, and Rohit Sharma loses the toss, and New Zealand opts to bat. Yes, on that track, they have a very, very good batting team. But I'm willing to just extend the faith that I have in this team and say that if it happens, I still don't see India chasing more than 260, 270. Could that be a challenging total? Of course it could be. But I don't know. I think the momentum and the positivity that the bowlers have infused into the batsmen, and given how New Zealand really haven't turned up collectively with that really impactful bowling performance yet, I would still back India to chase. But yes, the moment it exceeds 280, 290, then like we've been saying, that bad day is there. But I just don't see this bowling giving anything above 260, 265.
I understand that. I think it's, especially in those first 20 overs, it is more than just how good your bowling is. It is just difficult to survive those 20 overs under the lights in the second innings. And Chetan would agree because he's seen those matches there. I feel like that could turn out. And I'm only saying this because you don't want to leave that much to chance as well in a knockout game. I feel like that could be a problem. That's another reason. Do you agree as well to this, or do you think it's okay? India is a team that can actually pull off anything at this moment?
No, I don't think they can pull off anything at this moment. That's I've never said that. I think they will find it tough to chase, whether it's in Mumbai or Kolkata. And I'll give you my reasons. 20 overs in Mumbai, that's what any team needs to survive, whether it's South Africa or Australia or India, New Zealand in Mumbai. The team batting second needs to survive those 20 overs. And when I say survive, they still have to score at 4, 4.5, 5 and over, not lose too many wickets, and then keep a lot to do in the last 30 overs and finish the game from there on. And there's no given that the team they are facing will bowl like Afghanistan did in those last 30 overs. That was a key factor yesterday. Let's not forget that. So Wankhede, definitely, whoever wins the toss has the advantage in that game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves when we say India-Pakistan at Kolkata, because that last pitch, the India-South Africa game, if India was batting second, could they have chased 280 on that pitch? No way. That was not a chase pitch. It was a bat first pitch. You put 280 on that pitch. The moment India crossed 280 on that Kolkata pitch, that was game over. I don't think it's going to get any better if India is playing the semi-final in Kolkata. So if Pakistan bats first and puts 280 on the board, I would back India to chase it down, but I would still have my doubts given how the pitch played in that India-South Africa game. So I think both semi-finals are bat first semi-finals. The toss is going to have a lot of say in both semi-finals. In Kolkata, it's more pitch, induced. In Mumbai, it's going to be more humidity, dew, and the evening conditions induced. So both are different factors, but I think both are bat first semi-finals.
Okay. And what about you just think of, okay, maybe in the best thing that India can get is Afghanistan as their opponent in the semi-final. They're down and out, especially after how they've lost. Would that be a defeatist attitude at all? I mean, you would want to look for, if you had to choose between the pressure of playing a team like Pakistan or New Zealand, given how good New Zealand have been, to an Afghanistan down and out after. I mean, yes, they can bounce back, but it is, you would still take Afghanistan as the slightly weaker team than all the others?
I'll take Afghanistan over Pakistan as a semi-final opponent, because whether it's at it's not going to be at Wankhede. In Kolkata, in front of 68,000, 70,000 people, Pakistan is just going to pieces. They're going to, I'm sorry to use this phrase, they're going to shit their pants. Really, 70,000 people in that stadium. It's just not going to happen. Afghanistan is probably going to give a better account of themselves. I don't think India-Pakistan is a good contest for a semi-final, given how Pakistan has been playing, how mentally disintegrated they become. They need, if it's India-Pakistan, they need to win the toss and bat first. Anything else, and Pakistan is gone in that game. Afghanistan, they will be easier to beat, but I don't think they'll disintegrate just the way Pakistan will. Just seeing the vibe and the atmosphere at the ground.
I disagree. I don't think Pakistan are going to disintegrate if they do make it to the semi-finals. They genuinely believe that these are signs, that they are destined for this. They already believe in Kudrat ka Nizam. They already think that it's a huge thing that they have won a game after conceding 400 runs. They will have their tails up. Jamie?
Hats off to them. I mean, like I said, it saddens me that my prediction of Pakistan getting no higher than number 6, might stand to be broken. I think that's my real ulterior motive for not having Pakistan in the top 4. But look, again, yes, but Pakistan teams of the past have found themselves in these situations where they're relying on other results, on the rain, on tosses, on force of nature. But I just want to stick to what I've been saying. How poor their bowling is, it's not going to change overnight, right? Yes, they won that match because Fakhar Zaman was on the way to doing a Glenn Maxwell, and rain was the ultimate decider in that match. But what they've done before that, I'm saying they did give 400, So, like I said, I don't think they're deserving semi-finalists. They might still end up there. That would not surprise me. But overall, just for a contest, like Chetan said, that crowd factor, it's going to be the biggest decider on what Pakistan do. Do they have the batsmen to consistently score runs? I don't think so. If they did, they should have already been on 12 points minimum, They just haven't put together 2 good matches back to back, So again, I'll go with Chetan. I just don't see that as the ideal semi-final. Forget what the fans and the broadcasters say. And if it does happen, I won't really give Pakistan much of a chance.
Okay. Yes, Chetan.
And let's not give too much weight to Kudrat ka Nizam. This is a very, very emotional
No,
or
I'm not.
sentimental
I'm
story
not.
that is attached. So it is attached every time to Pakistan. It was the same story in 15, same story in 19, now again in 2023. They're always looking for a 1992 repeat, Kudrat ka Nizam, ye wo. It does not work in front of India. 70,000 fans in the stadium. You put them there, they're going to be screaming at the top of their voices. One thing goes wrong, end of Pakistan.
you know what, if they do qualify for the semi-finals, that in itself is Kudrat ka nizam, because the place where they were at one point to even qualified for the semi-final would be huge for them. But now, this is the favorite part of my show, because we are going to talk about our favorite topic of the day, and for many days to come, Glenn Maxwell's 201 not out. Maxwell stunned the world with a mind-boggling innings of 201 not out to take Australia into the semi-finals in a chase where he came in when Australia were 91 for 7 and they were chasing 292 to win. Not only did Maxwell get them over the line in style, he did it on one leg, smashing 21 fours and 10 sixes to make it one of the greatest knocks ever. But is it the greatest ODI innings of all time? If not, where does Maxwell's double rank in the list of all-time best ODI knocks? Let's talk about this. I am going to put some of the other ODI innings, talk about them, and then we'll discuss it with both Chetan and Jamie. Now, while we've seen double hundreds before and some other memorable hundreds from situations of adversity to give context to what Maxwell has done, here are 5 other unforgettable innings from the men's game that we feel slot into the all-time top 5. You may agree, you may disagree. Do let us know in the comment section below. But this is what we have put together. Arguably the innings that changed the narrative and direction of one-day cricket. Of course, the first one I'm going to just talk about, Glenn Maxwell's innings against Afghanistan, 201 off 8, almost paralyzed, waist down. Both his legs were cramping. He had upper back or back spasms. He just couldn't walk. Forget about running. He couldn't stand. And yet, he played that incredible knock to take Australia home. But the next knock is the one that changed the narrative and direction of one-day cricket. Chetan mentioned it in our afternoon show. Kapil Dev's 175 not out of 138 balls versus Zimbabwe at Tunbridge Wells during the 1983 World Cup in England. That stands out as a definitive knock by an Indian cricketer. Needing a win to stay in contention for the quarterfinals, India had slumped to 17 for 5 in the first innings when skipper Kapil came to the crease. What followed was the stuff of legend as Kapil smashed the Zimbabwean bowlers all around the scenic little ground with 16 fours and 6 sixes. The match was turned on its head and India finished with 266 for 8 from 60 overs, with Saeed Kirmani contributing 24 not out to help Kapil at 126 for the 9th wicket. Alas, the BBC did not cover that match, so we don't have visuals of Kapil's iconic 175. Now, that is, a lot of people would say, is the best knock. But if you remember that 434 game, it is probably because of what South African opener Herschel Gibbs pulled off in an effort ranked by Wisden as the ODI innings of the 2000s. Gibbs' match-winning 175 of 111 balls put South Africa on course for the most unbelievable chase in ODI history back in 2006. Set 435 after Ricky Ponting's 164 set up a world record total. South Africa lost an early wicket to bring Gibbs to the crease, who had the previous night gotten, in his own words, quote, totally wasted. The result was a rollicking century of 79 balls, and 21 balls later, Gibbs was on 150, having put on 187 in 20.5 overs with his skipper Graham Smith. When Gibbs was out, South Africa needed 136 from 109. They famously went on to win that game, but it would not have been possible without his heroics. Then, 2012, in one of the final installments of what was for decades a fixture of the Australian cricket summer, Virat Kohli smashed. This is for all the Virat Kohli fans. He smashed the most astonishing of innings to keep India in the hunt for a place in the Tri-Series final. At Hobart's Bellarive Oval, India needed to overhaul a target of 329 from 40 overs. On the back of Kohli's 133 not out from 86 deliveries, they made 321 for 3 in just 36.4 overs in what was the most astounding run chase ever seen on Australian soil. Kohli's innings contained 16 fours and 2 sixes, and he dominated partnerships of 115, in fact, with Gautam Gambhir and 120 with Suresh Raina. The over of the match was the 35th one, bowled by Lasith Malinga, in which Kohli hit 24 runs to hand Sri Lankan legend figures of 1 for 96. in just 7.4 overs. Then, just moving on, how can one of the legends of the ODI format not feature on this shortlist? Back in 1984, in an ODI between hosts England and West Indies at Old Trafford, the visiting team was 11 for 2. When Sir Vivian Richards sauntered out at number 4 to deliver one of the greatest ODI innings of all time. Despite losing partners at regular intervals, Richards ignored a scoreline of 102 for 7 with plenty of overs to go as he kept on attacking the English bowlers. From 166 for 9, he found support from Eldine Baptiste to get West Indies to 272 for 9 in their 55 overs, smashing 21 fours and 5 sixes in an exceptional 189 not out of 170 balls, which stood until 1997 as the highest individual score in men's ODIs. As if that was not enough, Richards then took 2 wickets in West Indies' 104-run victory. How do you like the list, Chetan? And where do you place this one? Did we miss any?
Yeah, you missed a lot.
Which are the ones? Okay.
Agree with the no, I don't think Virat Kohli's 100 should be on that list.
That's just for the Virat Kohli fans.
Yeah, so I place Sachin Tendulkar's 98 against Pakistan a bit higher on that list. I mean, Wasim, Waqar, Shoaib, India-Pakistan World Cup, chase, the only time in 8-0 a chase has been successful. No, there's no Tendulkar ODI knock that comes over the 98 that he scored, not even the Desert Storm. Desert Storm would be the second one for me for obvious reasons. But yeah, if I have to just pick one Tendulkar knock, it is that 98 in ODI cricket. The other knocks that I would have liked in there would be Saeed Anwar's 194. I think
Independence Cup.
In immense respect for that man. At that particular time, 194 in ODI cricket. There are other knocks as well. Gary Kirsten scored 180 something in the 96 World Cup. That was amazing. I think I think a couple of those knocks.
No, there are. You're right. There are. It's very difficult.
Lots.
It's very, very difficult. But it's almost like, I mean, if you
let's
had to pick
let's pick our 5.
Yeah. But no, so I would have, and especially if you were going to only talk about the World Cup, I was telling this to Jamie as well. Nobody's talking about it, but given the context and what it meant for Ireland, Kevin O'Brien's 100 against England in 2011.
I was there.
Yeah, that was some superior hitting. I mean, it was incredible.
And they were also 120 or maybe 80 or 100 or something. They were already 5 down, and there was still a lot of runs to go. And I remember he had pink hair that day, and that was an amazing knock. And we were at the their families were just sitting next to us. I think that was Chinnaswamy, if I'm not mistaken.
Chinnaswamy.
I don't know. I don't remember. Yes, Chinnaswamy. So. It was an amazing game. So I mean, there are a lot of ODI knocks. I think 5 is too short a number. Maybe we should do homework and come up with a list.
No, but we have time. We can discuss some of the other knocks as well that you remember. Jamie, what about you?
That 98. I mean, again, you sort of remember tournaments, remember eras for a couple of innings. That 98 stands out. Many would say, even Ben Stokes in the 19 World Cup final. There was some intervention, almost a hand of God type moment. But World Cup final, you remember, that as well. So I think when we make these lists, it's not intentional, but it's very easy. We go for the bigger scores, right? And oftentimes, is that 98 less than 150 not out?
Yeah.
Many will say no, but I think we often tip over the edge when it comes to 100. So, but again, like we discussed earlier, that Kapil Dev won just given where India was, the expectations or the lack of expectations. Zimbabwe having beaten Australia, India needed to win that match to stay in contention. 17 for 5. That probably is right up there. But again, since I didn't see it, I will still have to go with Glenn Maxwell.
I also remember the 2007 Adam Gilchrist knock, You remember that? In the final? Yeah. But again, that wasn't in a chase, so slightly different. Yes. Yeah, with the golf ball, I think that was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Squash
with the
ball,
golf
yeah.
ball
2007 with the, yeah,
the
with
squash
the,
ball.
yeah. Yes, Chetan.
Steve Wozniak in '99 in the Super Six game against South Africa, where Herschel Gibbs dropped that
Oh.
catch. I think that knock is also one of the all-time great knocks, because Australia were down, what, 5 down at that time or 4 down at that time. They were chasing a lot. They needed to win the game to qualify for the semi-final. The catch was put down. You've just dropped the World Cup, which apparently he didn't say. Yeah, I think that was a good knock, because
Yeah.
you look at that particular tournament. Saurav Ganguly hit 183, Sachin Tendulkar hit 140. After his dad's funeral, came back the next day, scored that run. So there were a lot of hundreds in that tournament, but that was a standout hundred with some context.
I would
I
think,
think that's one of the good World Cup hundreds.
yeah, but I would think that of all the double hundreds scored, this would have been the best.
No, there's
In the
one double hundred
context-
that I think.
In the context of where this match was headed, in a World Cup, I would think it's the best. Jamie? Chetan, which
True,
one do you
yeah.
think is better than this?
No. There's no. I wouldn't say it's better than this, because obviously he's a middle order batsman coming in and scoring a
Yeah.
double hundred. But if you're just marveling at a double hundred, leave aside Maxwell's double hundred. Rohit Sharma's 264
Against Sri Lanka.
For one batsman to get 264, that is yeah. But again, Maxwell's double hundred trumps that definitely.
Yeah. I mean, Martin Guptill's 237, that was a World Cup innings. But Jamie, do you think
there.
of any other?
We were standing side by side, and I took out my phone, and one of the ICC guys, "Arey, you can record," and we're both like,
Wellington.
the guys on Wellington at Westpac. We were standing.
Yeah.
Both of us
Westpac.
both of us stepped outside just like you did that day at the Kotla.
Yeah.
And we're standing literally like 5 feet from the sliding doors. And I took out my phone because Martin, Guptill, all that was going on. But the guy said you can't record it.
Yeah.
I still did. But look, again, the fact that I don't really remember much beyond the fact that he was on 199. But I think if you go back to the scorecard, probably nobody else really did something. So in the context of New Zealand, that small nation needing to, get inspiration, Martin Crowe was watching that innings. Probably Martin Guptill, I think it was 237 he got. That would be there, but 91 for 7, chasing 291, Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Okay, guys, there's a match on, and Jamie, congratulations. Your prediction was closer than Chetan's. 339 is what England scored, 339 for 9. At one point, though, it looked like it would be difficult for them to get there, though now no chance that Netherlands getting there. Chetan?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if
Yeah.
Netherlands go there, I mean, England should stop playing cricket.
Cricket,
to be
yeah.
honest. They should just stop playing cricket.
Yeah. Ben Stokes, 108. Dawood Malan. The problems are still there in this English side, but today I wouldn't say they've redeemed themselves against a team like Netherlands without, showing any disrespect to them. But they think that, okay, we've done okay, or would they say, no, our batting was still not what we wanted it to be? Jamie?
No, the batting is absolutely not what it. You needed Ben Stokes again, right? Ben Stokes who said I'm not playing again. The Ben Stokes, so maybe he was cajoled into whatever it is. Ben Stokes had not stood up before this match. You needed Ben Stokes to do it. Joe Root, I mean, Owen Morgan couldn't control his laughter. What is that guy doing? Okay, it's worked for you half a dozen times. This is a World Cup, my friend, where Joss Butler, he has been the most disappointing of all the England batsmen. What was he doing, So it was a series of, even Dawood Malan, he looked like he might get 150. He was run out. Subtract Chris Wokes and Ben Stokes' partnership, and it might have been 215, 220. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
My prediction would have been right.
But Joe Root, what is he doing? And to think that, this has been the worst tournament, one of the greatest players of all three formats to be batting like this. It's so weird to watch. But okay, completely out of time. Quick predictions before I wrap this up. Chetan?
England to win comfortably.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie? quick. I think it should be a quick finish. We don't want to watch.
215, 215,
Yeah.
215, 215.
You're still giving them 215. I would think that under
England's
the lights.
bowling is not very good.
Okay.
England's bowling is not very good.
Okay, guys, thank
They're
you so much.
12 for 1, but 215.
Chetan and Jamie for joining us here. That's it then on this special. Newsline Live is what you need to subscribe to. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
A lot of similarities between Baron Dash and Oliver Kahn.
Champions like him are not born every day.
And I also like this format that is not only question and answer.
After 15 years, football legend Oliver Kahn returns to India. 15 years ago, he was here for his farewell match. This time, the former German goalkeeper and Bundesliga star is a guest on season 2 of the award-winning show Jolo with Barun Das.